They told you Taiwanese food was bubble tea and beef noodle soup, but they never told you about the grandmother who has run a night market stall from the same spot for 40 years. They never told you that what she sells after dark, from a cart under a single light bulb to a line of people who have been coming back since childhood, represents one of the most complex and layered food cultures on Earth. What she makes every night is not street food. It is a living museum, and it is only open after dark. 1. Luru fan, the braised pork rice that built a nation's identity. There are dishes that feed you, and there are dishes that tell you who you are. In Taiwan, Luru fan is both. Pork belly, skin on, cut into small pieces and braised for hours in a sauce built from soy sauce, rice wine, rock sugar, 5-spice, and fried shallots until the fat renders completely and the skin becomes gelatinous and the sauce reduces to something thick and glossy that coats every grain of rice it touches. Served over white rice in a small bowl, topped with a soy braised egg halved to reveal a jammy yolk, a little preserved mustard greens on the side. Luru fan is the most democratic dish in Taiwan. It costs almost nothing. It is available at night markets, at hole-in-the-wall diners, at school canteens, at Michelin-starred restaurants that serve it deliberately to remind themselves where they came from. Presidents have eaten it from plastic stools. Children eat it for breakfast. The elderly eat it because it tastes like every good thing that ever happened. This grandmother has been making Luru fan from the same stall since 1983. She uses pork belly from the same butcher her mother used. She makes a fresh batch every afternoon starting at 2 so it is ready by the time the night market opens at 6. The braising liquid, the master sauce, has been going continuously for decades, replenished but never emptied, deepening with every batch like a living thing. Here is what nobody tells you. Luru fan became the defining comfort food of Taiwan, partly because of the massive waves of migration from mainland China following 1949, when over 1 million people arrived on the island within a few years. They brought their regional cooking traditions. Those traditions collided with indigenous Taiwanese and Japanese colonial influences. Japan occupied Taiwan from 1895 to 1945. And what emerged was something entirely new. Luru fan is not Chinese food. It is not Japanese food. It is Taiwanese food. Born from the meeting of everything that arrived on the island and everything that was already there. It was never just braised pork on rice. It was an entire island's history reduced into a single small bowl. 2. Oyster vermicelli, the dish that built night market culture. If Luru fan is Taiwan's soul food, oyster vermicelli is its heartbeat, and you can hear it in every night market in the country. Fresh oysters and pig intestines served in a thick, sticky broth made from sweet potato starch that gives it a viscous, almost gel-like texture unlike anything else in Asian cuisine. The broth is seasoned with soy sauce, rice wine, and white pepper, then topped with a sweet and sour chili sauce and fresh coriander. The oysters are plump and briny. The intestines are cleaned, blanched, and braised until tender. The starch thickens everything into something that coats your spoon and stays warm longer than it has any right to. Oyster vermicelli has been a fixture of Taiwanese street food since at least the early 1900s, when fishing communities along the coast turned their daily catch into something portable and affordable. Taiwan's western coastline is one of the world's most productive oyster farming regions. The shallow tidal flats of Chiayi and Yunlin counties produce oysters of extraordinary quality. The dish was built around what was abundant and cheap and turned it into something iconic. This grandmother's stall has been in the same night market location for 3 decades. She sources her oysters from a single farm in Chiayi, whose owner she has known for 20 years. She considers the quality of the oyster non-negotiable. On the rare occasion her supplier cannot deliver, she does not substitute. She closes the stall. Her regulars understand. They come back the next night. The sweet potato starch that thickens the broth, the ingredient that makes the texture what it is, was introduced to Taiwan centuries ago through trade routes connecting the island to Southeast Asia. A starch from South America carried to Asia by Portuguese traders, grown in Taiwanese soil and used by a grandmother to create a texture that defines one of the most loved street foods on Earth. Food has never respected national borders. It never will. It was never just a bowl of noodles. It was a fishing community's ingenuity, served warm from a cart after dark. 3. Scallion pancakes, the flatbread with 1,000 layers and one secret. The secret is lard. It has always been lard. Any grandmother who tells you otherwise is being diplomatic. Scallion pancakes, Kong Yu Bing, are made from a hot water dough that is rolled thin, brushed with lard and a mixture of flour and salt, covered in a thick layer of sliced scallions, then rolled into a log, coiled into a spiral, flattened again, and cooked in a pan with oil until the outside is blistered and golden and the inside is layered like phyllo, with pockets of scallion between each turn of the dough. The hot water dough is what makes it work. Boiling water partially cooks the starch in the flour before the kneading begins, creating a dough that is simultaneously pliable and structured. It can be rolled paper thin without tearing and holds its layers through the coiling and re-rolling without collapsing. It is a technique that requires practice. A grandmother's hands know the right consistency without measuring. A beginner's hands do not, and the pancake will tell you immediately. Scallion pancakes are arguably the most reproduced Taiwanese street food in the Western world, appearing in dumpling restaurants and Pan-Asian menus everywhere. Almost none of them use lard. Almost none of them are the same as a result. The vegetable oil substitution produces something flatter, less fragrant, with fewer distinct layers. The lard version produces something that shatters slightly at the edges and has a depth of flavor that makes you eat the second one before you have finished thinking about the first. This grandmother makes hers with lard she renders herself from pork fat back bought fresh every 3 days. She has never offered an alternative. When a customer once asked if she could make a vegetarian version, she considered the question carefully and said she could make something else instead, but it would not be a scallion pancake. It was never just a flatbread. It was a lesson in the difference between a recipe and a technique, and the grandmother who knew which one actually mattered. 4. Stinky tofu, the smell that guards the best thing you will ever eat. The smell hits you from 3 stalls away. It is confrontational. It is not subtle. If you have never encountered it before, your instinct will be to walk in the opposite direction. Every Taiwanese grandmother will tell you that instinct is wrong. Stinky tofu, chodufu, is firm tofu that has been fermented in a brine made from fermented milk, vegetables, and meat for anywhere from several days to several months, then deep fried until the outside is crispy and golden and the inside steams open when you bite it, releasing a flavor that bears almost no relationship to the smell that preceded it. Served with pickled cabbage, chili sauce, and soy sauce, the inside is creamy, the outside shatters. The flavor is deep and complex and savory in a way that clean tofu can never be. The fermentation brine is a living culture, like a sourdough starter, maintained, fed, and passed down. This grandmother's brine is 30 years old. She brought the starter from her mother's kitchen when she opened her stall. The specific microorganisms in that brine, shaped by 3 decades of her particular kitchen and her particular hands, produce a flavor profile that is hers alone. No 2 stinky tofu stalls smell or taste exactly alike. The brine is the signature. Stinky tofu originated in mainland China, with the most popular story tracing it to an accident in the Qing dynasty when a tofu maker left his product sitting in a brine jar too long. It arrived in Taiwan with the waves of migration in the 20th century and became embedded in night market culture so completely that it is now considered an essential Taiwanese experience, a rite of passage for visitors and a point of pride for locals. The grandmother at this stall has watched thousands of tourists approach her cart, smell the air, hesitate, and then, persuaded by the line of locals who do not hesitate at all, order a plate. She has watched almost all of them finish it and immediately order another. She finds this deeply satisfying. She has been finding it deeply satisfying for 30 years. It was never just fermented tofu. It was the night market's greatest lesson. The thing that frightens you first is often the thing that rewards you most. 5. Tang Yuan, the glutinous rice balls that meant the family was whole. Not everything sold at a night market is food. Some of it is ritual, some of it is memory, some of it is a grandmother standing behind a cart, making something her hands have made 10,000 times, for people who need to feel that everything is going to be all right. Tang Yuan are glutinous rice balls, the dough made from glutinous rice flour and water, kneaded until smooth, filled with sesame paste or peanut paste or red bean paste or a piece of brown sugar, sealed and rolled perfectly round, then boiled and served in a sweet ginger broth. The outside is chewy. The inside releases when you bite down. The ginger broth is warming and clean and ancient tasting in the best possible way. Tang Yuan are eaten at the Lantern Festival at the end of Lunar New Year. The 15th day, the last night of celebration, when lanterns are released into the sky and families gather one final time before the new year truly begins. They are also eaten at the winter solstice, Dongji, when the family gathering is considered essential, and the Tang Yuan represent reunion and wholeness. The round shape is not decorative. Round means complete. Round means everyone is here. Round means the family is still together. This grandmother makes Tang Yuan by hand at her night market stall on every Lantern Festival, and Dongji without exception, and on weekends throughout the year, because her regulars ask for them and because she considers making them a form of meditation. She rolls each one between her palms into a sphere so perfect, it looks machine-made. It is not. 40 years of practice look like machine precision and feel like the opposite. For Taiwanese families in the diaspora, eating Tang Yuan at the winter solstice is one of the most tenaciously preserved traditions. In cities where the grandmothers are gone, adult children learn to make them from videos, from memory, from photographs of their grandmother's hands. They are not quite the same, but the act of making them is the point. The round shape, the family at the table, the declaration that wholeness is still possible, even here, even now, even this far from home. It was never just a rice ball. It was a family counted, held together in the shape of something round and warm and complete. Braised pork that carried an island's entire immigrant history in a single bowl. Oysters pulled from tidal flats turned into one of the most beloved street foods on earth. A flatbread whose secret ingredient every shortcut version has abandoned. A fermented smell that guards the best thing you will eat all week. Rice balls rolled into perfect spheres that mean everyone is still here. Taiwanese night market food is not casual. It looks casual. The plastic stools, the single light bulbs, the paper plates, the grandmother who has been standing in the same spot since before you were born. But what she is doing in that spot every night, with those ingredients, in those quantities, with that level of care for a customer she may never see again, that is not casual at all. That is a life's work. That is a culture, kept alive one night at a time. The night markets of Taiwan are among the most visited destinations in Asia. Millions of people travel to stand in those lines, under those lights, and eat from those carts. What they are really doing, whether they know it or not, is paying their respects to the grandmothers who built those markets and never left. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been to a Taiwanese night market? And if you have eaten something from a cart somewhere in the world that you have been thinking about ever since, tell me what it was and where. Because that feeling, the one that stays, that is exactly what this channel is here for. Subscribe, because next time we go somewhere else, and the story is just as extraordinary.